Hello everybody, welcome back. Sam Tom Miller here. Finishing up our main trek of Phantom of the Opera movies. There will be one more video going up on my Patreon about another movie that's not a Phantom of the Opera movie, but like it kind of fits. What do you think it is? Let me know. But today we're talking about the 2004 film adaptation of the musical. Excuse me. And this movie, as I assume for a lot of people, but maybe I'm wrong, this movie was my entry point into the story of Phantom. I did experience the music before seeing this movie when I was in high school band, and we played the music from it, so I loved the music. And then I've mentioned this in another video, but it's more relevant here, so I'll repeat it. I believe what happened was that the high school choir at my school went and saw it. We did put on musicals at my high school. I never went to see any of them. I don't think we did this one though. It seems like a bit much for a high school, especially since I went to a really small high school. So I don't think they did it. I think they just went and saw it. And so there was a big hubbub about it at my school. I knew the music from band, but I don't think I actually saw this until college. But like I was primed for it. So whenever I first saw it, high school or college, I liked it a lot. And I've liked it ever since. And so this is where my Phantom history comes from. That's what kind of all of these were compared to in my brain, especially the musical, even though the musical came first. Most of my notes for this compared it to this. But my battery's almost dead, so let's get into my notes. First of all, this is why we're tracking the ages. Because at some point I learned this about this movie, and it has bothered me since I learned it. In this movie, Gerard Butler, who plays the Phantom, is 35 at the time of release. Christine, at the time of release, was 18 years old. The actress that played Christine. And, what's his name? Patrick Wilson, who plays Raoul, 31 at time of release. Now that's already a lot, because she's definitely still a teenager. Technically a legal adult, but still a teenager. The Phantom is 17 years older than her, and she's only 18. Raoul is 13 years older than her. Quite a big age difference for someone so young. It gets worse when you recognize the fact that they filmed this movie before the year of release. So during filming, she was only 17, which is legally a child. And yes, she makes out with both men on screen in this movie. Not only was she 17 during filming, but filming started on September 15th. And she turned 17 on September 12th. Which means during pre-production and when she was casted in this movie to make out with men in their 30s, she was 16 years old. Who makes that casting decision? What is wrong with you? This bothers me so much. And I never hear anyone else talking about it ever. So I'm bringing it up here. Maybe you don't think it's as gross as I do, but I think it's gross to choose a 16-year-old girl to make out with a 33-year-old man. Other than that, I really like this movie. So we get a time jump. We start in 1919 with the auction, then go back to 1817. I never understood why we have the auction. I never understood most of the future parts. It kind of pays off at the end because we get that hint that the Phantom's still alive. Is that worth it? I don't know. Those scenes always drag me down. I don't really like those scenes a lot. We are told that Christine and Raoul were childhood sweethearts. And again, I've said it before. Actors are not always the ages of the characters that they play. But we are told that they are childhood sweethearts. But when Raoul turned 18, the cutoff for childhood, Christine would have been 3. Gross. And again, as I've said, I don't have an issue with couples that have an age gap if they are both consenting adults. She was a child when they made this movie. I wrote a lot of Carlotta because we get a lot more Carlotta in this than in any of the other film versions. We get quite a bit in the musical, but this Carlotta, as I mentioned in my video on the musical, this one is a cartoon, and I love her so much. Mwah. I enjoy it so much. So over the top, so ridiculous, great. Christine, on the other hand, is lifeless. I'm like, I don't hate this actress. I don't think she did a bad job, but man, what do people see in Christine? She just stands there on stage, not moving at all, and everyone loses their minds over it. There's a shot of a 5-string bass in the orchestra. That's neat. Don't see those a whole lot. Then at one point I just wrote, it's a musical. And like, what do you want me to say? I'm a musician. I have a degree in music. I was a music teacher for 9 years. I like music. Therefore, I often like musicals. I totally get that some people don't like musicals. You can't buy into it. It's fine. I feel sorry for you, but it's fine. But like, there's a reason this one's my favorite, right? Not that I think it's necessarily better than this, but as a movie, as a viewing experience at home, not at a concert hall, I like this a lot. I really like it. I love the music so much. Like I said, I got to play the trumpet part on them in high school, so it's been a long time that I've liked that music. I talked about this in this video, but the line, Christine, you must have been dreaming, stories like this can't come true, doesn't make sense. This has been happening for years. So for Meg to tell Christine that it's weird for you to be talking like this, Meg, where have you been for the last 3 years? This is not a new development. At least it's not presented like a new development. Raul, still bossing her around. I really like Raul in this. He's my number 2 Raul. He fights for her a lot. I'm assuming the ages of the characters are not the same as the ages of the actors. So fine, they were childhood sweethearts. He seems to be a good, upstanding guy. He goes through a lot of trouble to save her. He might be the only one. I don't know for sure, but he's very clearly tells her, don't throw your life away for me. Just let me die. Don't spend your life with this monster. He's very selfless. But there's one scene in her dressing room where he's just like, all right, we're going to dinner in 10 minutes. Get ready. Like, what? I don't remember the lot, but like, he's just a little bit bossy. That takes him down a notch. But I really like him. Love his hair. Singing, but the mouth's not moving. So there's a couple weird directing choices in this movie. There are a couple scenes where the characters on screen are not moving their mouths, but their voices are singing in the soundtrack. I don't know why you make that decision. There are also a couple times where characters are speaking lyrics, and you can tell that there's a rhythm there, and you can tell that the words rhyme, and it's just weird that they're not singing. I don't know why they made those decisions. I really don't like it, though. They're just little things, but they bother me a lot. As I mentioned in this one, the scene where she first takes off his mask and he gets really upset, he just lets her do it. He just sits there while she slowly reaches her hand up and takes it off. That's really weird. Again, I've mentioned a lot of this before, but I never understood why everyone wants to keep Carlotta, because it's clear that nobody likes Carlotta, and it's clear that she's flaky. And in this version, Christine's excellent right away. It's not like the other one where she struggles for a while, so I never understood why they wanted Carlotta back, especially with all the threats from the Phantom. This one, I think it's made the most clear that Christine truly believes that her teacher is some form of the angel of music sent by her father. It's kind of mentioned in some of the other ones, but this one I think is the most clear that like she's really all in on this, and she does not realize that it's the Phantom. Gerard Butler singing. So I've heard this said a lot, and again, everyone gets their own opinion. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but I've heard so many people complain about this movie specifically because Gerard Butler is not a strong singer. And like, fact, he's not a strong singer. He's not trained as a singer, right? But to me, that makes him a better Phantom. Just like he's physically disformed, when you're doing a musical, right? And everything in the world is presented through music, doesn't it make more sense for his voice to also not be perfect? Is that a weird way of taking it? And like, it seems that when he's singing in his lower register, he's stronger. But when he sings in the higher register, where Raoul sings, that's where he struggles the most. And I don't know if that's intentional, but it seems very thematic that when he's going up against Raoul, that's where he falters, right? And that's where he's less impressive. Whereas when he does his own thing, he's got a lot of skills on his own. Not strictly speaking about his voice, right? But as it's thematic of the character, that he has his own skills, but when he's going up against Raoul, specifically for Christine, he's not going to win that. So, like, I get that he's not a great sounding singer. I don't mind his voice at all, but I understand, yes, he's not as good as professional Broadway singers, but I think that makes the character of the Phantom come across better as an evil, deformed creature. So I never understood that as a criticism of the movie. Fine if you want to critique his voice. I don't think that makes the movie worse. I think that makes it better. Just my opinion. Then we get the scene where they're doing the Poor Fool He Makes Me Laugh song, and the Phantom strangles the dude, but Christine hasn't sung yet. And I'm like, why stop the show before Christine gets to sing? Don't you want people to see her sing? Don't you want her to be able to, like, let her do something first and then scare everybody? That was just kind of weird. Why did Raoul leave? The masquerade scene, Phantom comes down dressed as the Red Death. Raoul and Christine are standing next to each other. Raoul kind of makes some kind of motion to Christine and leaves, and then comes back later because the Phantom takes Christine, and so he comes back and he follows them down. And then Madame Geary, whatever her name is, she saves Raoul. But like, why did Raoul leave there? It was really weird. Didn't make sense. This is, again, we get the line, same line from here, just presented differently, where Madame Geary says, he's an architect, a designer, a composer, a magician. She says, he's a genius. And then we get, clearly, genius has turned to madness. But in this version, he escaped from the circus as a child. So how does he have all of these skills just being alone by himself in the sewer? Like, I don't buy that he's an expert musician with no training, but you can kind of like fudge it and be like, well, if he's in an opera house and he's constantly hearing all these examples of great music, maybe, right? But like, architecture, okay, maybe he's studying the opera house, right? But like, how does that teach him how to do these things? How does he learn to become an engineer to build all these traps and things? And how does he learn how to become a magician? He's not going to magic shows. Doesn't really make sense. There's a line in the song, and it's in this version too, where the Phantom says to Christine, he refers to how he's been looking after her as his fathering gaze. He says, quote, my fathering gaze. It's in the song. I never noticed it before until this time when I watched it on subtitles. Really, really creepy when he's also obsessed with her, wanting him to love him. Gross. It's like, it's a good line for a scary, creepy Phantom guy. It's just gross. When Raoul goes down to the sewers, and Madame Geary says, keep your hand at the level of your eyes, he repeats, at the level of your eyes. And then immediately shakes his hand out. And like he puts it up again later. But it's just like weirdly shot that he immediately puts it down. Bubbles moving the wrong way when Raoul is struggling under the water in the gates. If you watch closely, bubbles are moving the wrong way. They're moving downward. And there's one shot that then a couple seconds later plays the right way. And so they just reverse the shots. Just a little floppy editing thing that I had never noticed before that I noticed this time. Madame Geary should be the person that the Phantom is obsessed with in this version. She was there. She showed compassion to him as a child. She helped him escape. She let him live there. She helped him out, right? And like, it's not like she's an ugly child. So like, you would think that the Phantom, as a boy in that situation, you would think he would become obsessed with her, right? As the nice girl, his own age, that showed him kindness. And then maybe he tries some stuff and maybe she doesn't want anything to do with it. But then you would think, if he's going to move that down a generation, that it would be her daughter. Which, like, she says that Christine is like a daughter to her, but she also has a daughter, Meg, who's the same age as Christine. So, like, again, as I've said in other videos, why is he obsessed with Christine? It makes no sense. I complained about this movie a lot, but I really do enjoy it. And man, and you bet I was singing along when I was watching it this time. So, my camera's going to die very soon, so I'm going to go ahead and call this. What do you think this mystery movie is? If you want to know, you got to go to my Patreon. Links will be below. Let me know what you think of this movie. Have you seen the musical in person? Do you prefer one over the other? What do you think about my thoughts on Gerard Butler's voice? Does it work for the character? Or is it bad and they should have gotten a better singer? Let me know what your thoughts are. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for tuning in for this week of Phantom of the Opera movies. Have a good day.